Bapak Muhammad
Yeah.
Fafrul. Okay, and then Abdul Rahman Ramadan, and then Puji Pratami. Oke, sambil menunggu ya yang lainnya. Eh, in the parallel part, today they will present about the theme cultural and social impact and education. Before start presentation, I will tell you about the rule of the presentation. Please all presenter on camera and then introduce yourself and your affiliation, and then give a brief statement about the theme for the topical panel. The allocation for presenter is 10 minutes. And the last question and answer session for our presenter will be conditioned in the last part of the presentation. Okay. Because three presenter in the parallel group, now will the first presentation will be presenter is Mr. Aswan with the article about UPMI's urgency in multicultural education of Indonesian school in Malaysia. Okay, Mr. Aswan,
Yes.
are you ready?
Okay, ready.
Okay,
Can I share the...
kan siapa? Okay, share screen Mr. Aswan or okay, Mr. Aswan. Okay, thank you.
Wait. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon to all presenter here. My name is Aswan. I'm from Universitas Negeri Malang. Today I will present my paper called or entitled is Euphemisms Urgency in Multicultural Educations of Indonesian School in Malaysia. Okay, when we talk about Indonesian school, uh, Indonesian school is not just about in Indonesia, but there is Indonesians in Malaysia, such as Sekolah Indonesia Luar Negeri. Sekolah Indonesia have emerged in Malaysia as a platform to facilitate access to education for children with Indonesian citizens. So I think these issues about Indonesian school in Malaysia, so many aspects we can research, we can take for our topic in research. And when we talk all about Indonesian school in Malaysia, there is a two big school or the main school, Indonesian school in Malaysia. First is Sekolah Indonesia Kuala Lumpur, based in Kuala Lumpur. And secondly, Sekolah Indonesia Kota Kinabalu, it's based in Pulau Borneo. So this is two of school in the big main school, Indonesian school in Malaysia. So when the characteristic when we talk about Indonesian school in Malaysia, it's so really different in between in Indonesian school in Indonesia. Indonesian school in Malaysia exhibit distinctive characteristic compared to their own Indonesian counterpart. The students' body comprise the children of Indonesian migrant worker who hail from diverse religions within Indonesia. So we can say also a significant proportions of students Indonesian students in Malaysia were born and raised in Malaysia, leading them to acquire substantial social, cultures, linguistic knowledge specific to Malaysia. So the problem is from what in this study, in my study, is uh, children of Indonesia migrant worker enroll as a students in Indonesian school in Malaysia often grapple with a limited understanding of Indonesian language and culture. So this issue is more important for me because for this study because Indonesia as an Indonesian citizens we should have more knowledge about our identity in Indonesia. So which can facilitate student comprehensions of linguistic culture diversity, thereby preventing conflict in their daily life. So really important to get multicultural education to all children in Malaysia, Indonesian children in Malaysia to has capability to understanding, international understanding, not about Indonesia, but Malaysia, and also about global perspective. So, and then when we talk about multicultural there is many perspective on multicultural educations, but from this study multicultural education present in this paper is revolve around euphemism based in educations. So when we talk about euphemisms is involves the utilizations of minor or more delicate words or expressions to substitute harsh contentious or more direct language. The linguistic concept in these euphemisms is frequently employed in communication to allay the tension, discomfort, or unkindness. So method from this study is I use to qualitative and use a case study approach to investigate the conditions of school in Indonesia with realms of multicultural educations and explore the imperative roles of euphemisms in this educational context. So what this study find and we find that euphemisms can put in multicultural education in Malaysia from several aspects. First is euphemisms in teaching material. So teachers can use euphemisms in the teaching material. Approach allow euphemism to play a role in discussions addressing sensitive or taboo issue related to the cultural diversity of Indonesia, Malaysia, and other nations. And also, in the second aspect, we can use euphemism in multicultural in Indonesia school in Malaysia is integrate euphemism into the speaking skill because euphemisms is a tool to make language more softer, more can be accepted by people. So euphemism have proven that be highly effective communication strategy for students for diverse contexts. So from that aspect, what drives the imperative of students euphemisms in multicultural educations? First is the incorporations of euphemism into the framework of multicultural education for Indonesian school in Malaysia is driven by the urgent need to foster an inclusive and respectful learning environment. And secondly, about the significance of euphemisms in multicultural education within Indonesian school in Malaysia align with the essence of euphemism itself. And lastly is integrations. Euphemism into multicultural education within Indonesian school in Malaysia is imperative, aligning with the enhancing of the interpersonal skills. So the conclusions of this study is Indonesian school in Malaysia require enhancements in the realm of multicultural education, particularly giving the inherently multicultural context of educational setting. This school ought to take proactive measures to enhance multicultural education by development a more inclusive curriculums, facilitating interactions among students from diverse culture backgrounds, and also introduce the concept of humanism-based multicultural education. So the urgency of incorporating humanism in multicultural education serves as a foundational element in constructing an inclusive educational community. I think that's all from my presentation. Thank you for this opportunity. I giving back this time to moderator.
Mr. Aswan, okay, about SIKL ya. Malaysia. Beberapa waktu lalu saya juga ngabdian Mister di sana tentang ini membatik bulanan anak. The student is very happy about culture in Indonesia. Okay, thank you for Mr. Awan for presentationnya. And then second presentation is Abida Ummu Azizah. Ready?
Yes, already. But yesterday I was saying to the committee that I need help for committee for sharing my PPT because I can share here.
Okay. Mr. Abida Ummu Azizah with the article about gerontology curriculum in the Aisyah Senior School program in Condong Catur.
Yes.
Curriculum ya. Time is your Miss Abidah. Can
Okay.
you share screen?
No, I was saying yesterday to the committee for sharing my PPT. Can I get help?
Okay, wait.
Okay. Can I start now?
Yes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, respected guests, I'm delighted to welcome you to this international conference. My name is Abida Aziza, and I have the distinct honor of being your presenter today. Our shared passion for gerontology curriculum in the Aisyah Senior School, or we call it by ISS, sorry, we minus O school, double O, has broadcast together from various corners to the world, and I'm excited to engage in fruitful discussion that will undoubtedly enrich our knowledge and understanding. So, next slide. We began from the introduction that we understand about the needs and aspiration of an aging human population is becoming increasingly important as society's age. Education is crucial in promoting active aging, improving quality of life, and encouraging social inclusion among older adults. Examining how educational programs are designed to meet these needs make it very important. In this context, Aisyah Senior School in Condong Catur has attracted attention for its gerontology curriculum, a program specifically tailored for senior student. The school makes an interesting case study because its unique approach to addressing the specific needs of older adults through education. However, research on how this curriculum has been structured and implemented to achieve these goals is limited. This knowledge gap is what motivated the current research as an investigation into the gerontology curriculum at Aisyah Senior School. Okay, and the next slide is introduction in theoretical framework. In this research, I use two theoretical framework that I choose: Jeremy Bentham utilitarian curriculum theory and Erikson psychosocial theory includes 8 sequential stages throughout life. Why I choose two of them? Because I have the explanation slide in the next slide, but the conclusion is because there are many theory curriculum that exist in this world, but I see that utilitarian curriculum is the formal curriculum as what I got from the interview from the headmaster in ISS. So the concept of utilitarian curriculum also that has compatible for that school. And about the theory of psychosocial, because the one of stage in that psychosocial theory claim that older or elderly age must be fulfilled the needs, especially for the encourage and social needs, and also financial and also knowledge. Next. Okay. The research purposes for this research is firstly to understand how the gerontology curriculum is implemented at Aisyah Senior School in Gunung Catur, and the second is to analyze the implementation of the 8-stage utilitarian and psychosocial curriculum in the gerontology curriculum at Aisyah Senior School, and the third is to evaluate the effectiveness of the gerontology curriculum in meeting the needs and challenges of elderly education, and the last is to explore the challenges and obstacles in implementing the gerontology curriculum and how to overcome them. Next. We began from literature review and theoretical framework. What is gerontology? Gerontology is the study of aging, and the processes associated with it aging has become an increasingly important research field in recent decades. And Aisyah Senior School is the leadership of Aisyah branch, or we call it by PRA or PRA, of Perum Nasional Catur in 1979, found that Perum Nasional Catur was inhabited by 1,200 heads of families, or we call it by KK, with a percentage of 90% young families and 10% elderly families. But in 2014, the number of older adults increased, including the PRA Perumnas Cenun Catur administrators. Even among the elderly, they dominated, reaching 90%. PRA tries to respond by holding Islamic boarding school for the elderly activities every 6 months. So we use the utilitarian curriculum theory here, looks at the basic thinking system of forming the gerontology curriculum at Aisyah Senior School, and the 8th level of life psychosocial theory are used to look at the series of programs that Aisyah Senior School has. Next. Here we see how the utilitarian curriculum theory work. The utilitarian curriculum departs from, sorry, I can see. Okay, the utilitarian curriculum departs from one of the ethical theories in the mind of philosophers. Utilitarianism ethics comes from the word utilis, which means useful. In this moral theory, an action will be considered good if the action benefits. So yeah, comes if the action benefits has a happiness, and And in the contra, in the contra side, we call it by evil if the evil impact to pain. A good and proper action produce greater pleasure than less pain. This theory is relatively simple because the goal of human life is basically to achieve happiness. And what the red line with ISS, utilitarianism was then adopted as a curriculum pattern to form students who are cognitively educated, ethical, and applicable. Nah, the orientation of the utilitarianism curriculum is one usefulness without ignoring the cognitive and moral dimension as in religious guidelines. Students as object of education are formed based on the principle of benefit that will return to themselves and others. Now, the utilitarianism curriculum, as the name suggests, is a curriculum that emphasizes practice and usefulness. This unique approach to education ensures that students are not just passive recipients of knowledge, but also active participants in their learning journey. The main aim of this curriculum is to equip students with practical skills and knowledge that they can apply in real-world situations, thereby increasing their employability and competence. So in this curriculum, in gerontology curriculum, students are valued, even required to explore optimally instead of simply absorbing theoretical concepts. They are given ample opportunities to apply theory into practice, solve real-world problems, and learn from their experiences. This practical approach to understanding not only builds their technical skills, but also helps develop critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills, which are essential to their future career and personal growth. And in the educational program organized by ISS, the students are elderly who are directed to remain productive for themselves and others. This program is specifically designed to encourage the active participation of seniors in various activities, both physical and mental, which can help them stay energized, healthy, and enthusiastic. In this way, they can not only make good use of their time, but also make a positive contribution to the community around them so that they feel valuable and needed. Apart from that, education at IS is also aimed at helping other people build self-confidence in facing their old age. Through various program and activities, they can learn and develop new skills, interact with others, and overcome multiple challenges they may face. This not only strengthens their self-confidence, but also gives them a new passion and purpose in life, which is essential for their quality of life in the years to come. And next, psychosocial theory, 8 sequential stages throughout life. We see the first is trust versus mistrust, autonomy and etc. So we go from point H, integrity versus despair, for 65 years and over. In that stage, elderly people or older adult in this stage must face physical and social losses. They lost physical strain and health and lost their job. So their income now depends on pension funds as time goes by. They lose partners, relatives, or friends individually. Erikson realized that older people had to make many physical and social adjustments. Apart from that, Erikson said that this stage is a struggle between ego, integrity, and despair. As the elderly face that, they evaluate what they have done during their lives. In this process, they are confronted with a sense
Yes,
of
Miss.
ultimate
It's
hopelessness.
Dida.
Yeah.
Your time is 3 minutes.
Okay. Okay. Minus minus how many? Okay, so
3 minutes.
okay. Therefore, ISS strives to ensure that each individual's final stage of life is well met by committing to providing the support, guidance, and resources necessary to ensure that they can navigate this stage with confidence and well-being. ISS believes that this approach will help students reach their full potential and enjoy a better quality of life in their remaining golden years. Next. This is my research methodology. I use qualitative and I use in-depth interview, participant observation, document analysis. Next. this is the Aisyah Senior School in Condong Catur in Grand Design. We see that they have two background for building this school, empiric and ideology. Next. This is the phenomenon analysis with utilitarian curriculum framework. We see the three material that phenomenon analysis with utilitarian curriculum framework existed. First is main material, includes akidah, akhlak, muamalah, elderly health, psychology of elderly. Next. Al-Quran, Al-Hadis, Ibadah, Arabic language, and the second companion material that includes pray, tadarus skills, and next supplementary material that includes lansia, gymnastic, anti-stroke exercise, senam otak, tadabur alam, art. Next. The conclusion is, this is the last slide. The gerontology curriculum is implemented at Aisyah Senior School in Condong Catur by utilitarian curriculum and psychosocial spirit. The implementation of utilitarian curriculum shows that the ISS curriculum is dominated by practical learning, and psychosocial curriculum in the gerontology curriculum at ISS shows how the ISS gerontological ethos aims to bring the elderly to an advanced civilization, and the effectiveness of the gerontology curriculum obtained from interview with alumni. And the obstacle to implementing ISS are the presence of congenital diseases that recur in the middle of the program, and non-cooperation of the family in contracting the elderly to ISS, and sorry, I can see lack of financial from the government and the organization Muhammadiyah. That's all from me. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thank you for Miss Umu about the presentation gerontology curriculum ya. Okay, next presentation for the presentation is okay. Mr. Muhammad Hafid Zulfahmi.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay. Mr. Muhammad Hafid Zulfahmi and Miss Umi Ulfatus ya?
Yes.
Umi Ulfatus, okay. What the article relevance of moral education value in Syiar Fatimah with learning materials. Okay, ready for Mr. Hafid?
Okay, wait for a moment.
Can you share screen or commit in share screen?
I share screen. Manager.
Belum, Mr. Hafid?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
My vision.
Okay.
Okay, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
We are present to you. We will discuss about the relevance of moral education values in Syiar Fatimah with PAI learning materials, or we can say it by Islamic education materials and curriculum at the elementary school. Okay, let's begin. At the first that we will discuss into 5 points. The first is introduction, some method, result, and discussion, conclusion, and reference. May next the screen. And we're going to the first discussion is about the challenge of Islamic education, that as we know, Islam comes to us not only by Al-Quran Hadith, but Islam comes to us as the key from the problems of human life in this world. So the Islam education method is every lesson has 3 methods for conveying studies or teaching, namely riwayah, so muzakara, and question and answer. And the challenge of Islam education is increasingly difficult in the current era of modernity. The reason is because there are problems in an increasingly complex society. So Islam education has a significant role in building a transformation of social values in people's life. For that, Islamic education today is considered capable of bringing about social change. Meanwhile, the government has the task of directly developing and supervising the continuity of education system, such as creating the curriculum as a strategy to improve the quality of intellect and capacity or skill, we say, as well as an effort to form virtuous humans. So we are coming here, we will give an other lessons from the education of Islam from the Shi'ir of Fatimah. Let's continue. Next screen. So our method in this theme, in this discussion, we use the qualitative research with the type of library research is carried out by collecting first literature that relate to the topic of discussion. We take many reference as come from books, journals, and internet page. So especially we take from a copy of Kiai Nur Hamid, the book and the title Shi'ir Fatimah. Meanwhile, secondary data research or literature research relate to moral education and learning material. The data collection method use documentation, namely a method of collecting data regarding things in the forms of notes, book, or similar. The data analysis use content analysis, namely analysis used to understand the next objectively. So next, the uniques of research that as we have read at many of journals, we find so many education of Islam in many books, or the philosopher of Islam as Al-Ghazali, Ibn Sina, or other Muslim philosopher. But nobody discuss about Shi'ir Fatimah, because the Shi'ir from Kiai Nur Hamid used by using Javanese language with the poetry of Javanese heritage, or we can say by pagan or huruf pagan Jawa. So we think it is the unique one of our research. Next. The result and discussion, the content of the result and discussion. So the first is we have to know what is Turas. As we know that Turas is the book or the last book or Javanese book, which means relic or inherited from the past, which is used by the next generation. Meanwhile, in terms of terms, Turas can be interpreted as everything left behind by our predecessors, whether in the forms of object that can be used, such as work of book, or those are meaningful, such as theories of thought. Or the example of Turas is like Bulughul Maram book, so Nasahiul Ibad book, so Al-Um by Imam Al-Ghazali and others book. It is kitab of the book of Turas. Value of moral education. The education from Shi'ir Fatimah Zahra, I will give the example, the writing in that book like this. Kawitan nulis mudune Jumat ing panuren supados genah, kang nuren iki ndak bisa ngarang ingkang dendur asaling leyang. Kiai Nur Hamid ingkang kagungan ing Mojosari Kampung Kauman, titalaran ing leluhur kitab asale dan pek maknan. Saben-saben nulis bakdane ngaji pamrih nulisnya supaya titi karena anutur putra jeng Nabi Siti Fatimah garwane Ali. That is the example from the content of Syair Fatimah Zahra, but written at Javanese pagan or Javanese language. So the result, the importance of this discussion, the first is about the role of moral cannot be replaced by various levels of society and social stratification, which views personal and individual education. Talking about moral certainly cannot be spared from the components of Aqidah, where these two components always work together to form human morality. That Aqidah and our culture, so our attitude, it's work together for our life. So next. The values of moral education divide into 3 points. The first is self-dimension, so social dimension, and the last metaphysical dimension. It's by Ghazali's perspective. Self-dimension informs us how our contribute ourselves with other person in behind or beside us. The second is the social dimension, namely government, society, or interaction with other people, from us to another people. And metaphysical, it is ethical and religious aspect, as praying, so other ritual for our God. Okay, next. And the value of moral education in Shir Fatima, the first is moral education toward Allah, so moral education for parents, and moral education towards others. Uh, the special of this shi'ir that every part or every education it contains with story of Fatima Zahra and Ali bin Abi Talib for his heart and the life before their marriage. Also like this. I will read one point of text. That Javanese language or using Pagon. This. Lamun jeung Tuan Nabi Muhammad kersa nampa pangmalaran ambian purun amasuk Islam, Kangjeng Nabi lamun dan tampi yukti sedaya purun menerangi. This points it's come from the text of Syair Fatimah Zahra. Inform us how the Ali always ask the what we say that advice from his father. It is Nabi, or not his father, his parents. Here is Nabi Muhammad SAW about how is the best of way that Ali bin Abi Talib has to take, has to eliminate like this. So continue the next chapter. The moral education to Allah. The best point of this moral is moral education to Allah, or education towards Allah. It is like this book. It is explained that while Sayyidina Ali bin Abi Talib wanted to propose to Fatima, he went to the mosque to perform his prayer. Ali bin Abi Talib begged and prayed to Allah for his wish. Imam An-Nawawi in Nasuhul Ibad explained that prayer is worship. We should pray to Allah to become close believers, because someone who doesn't ask and pray to Allah is considered at best. And by asking the Allah, we will find the easier in our way or our work after that. So continue. And all the education of Islam in the Syair Fatimah is Zuhud and Qana'ah. We can take the one point or one education of Zuhud as Fatimah, Sayyidatina Fatimah Qana'ah and Zuhud attitude shown by rejecting worldly glitter. Even though Allah has provided a dowry in the form of jewelry from, we say it even. Starting from gold, diamonds, dirham, Sayyidatina Fatimah refused it and breathed another dowry. He made a request to be able to increase for woman in the afterlife. So the Qana'ah attitude prioritizes profits in the afterlife compared to worldly ones, because in the words of the Prophet ﷺ, it has been explained that the world is a paradise for unbelievers and a person of believer. So the setting of Prophet to his word was nothing more than the guide of their people to always prioritize the afterlife by Imam Al-Ghazali. So the next is the moral education toward parents, because the education of moral is not to our God only, but the most important other is moral education toward parents. It's shown by moral of Sayyidatina Fatimah Zahra and Sayyidina Ali bin Abi Talib, attitude of always asking her father in love advice in solving this. Yes.
Your time is 2 minutes.
Okay. We continue to the next. Other education moral is moral education towards others. So other one is moral education toward toward parents, toward others. So education moral with what is the relate of this education with PAI learning materials. The value of moral education is a form of praying to Allah. Asceticism and Kana'ah, as well as being generous and honest, have relevance to PAI learning materials at elementary school levels. This is in accordance with the teaching materials available in the odd semester of the 2023 and 2024 academic year. Generous and honest attitude is relevant to class 2 material and the elementary school level. The material contained in the independent curriculum teaching materials discuss commendable behavior including love to others, empathy, speaking softly, and being honest. So what the big of relevation from the text of Syair Fatimah and education material, I mean, in the elementary school, it is shown at the conclusion. At the conclusion, sorry, the text, okay. At elementary school of class 2, class and class 4, discuss about Asmaul Husna, Al-Ahad, Al-Wahhab. So explanation about the main contents of Surah Al-Ma'un, sharing wisdom and material on commendable behavior. All that contained at Syair Fatimah. It includes a value of moral education toward Allah, moral education toward parents, and the
Mr.
value of
Hafid,
moral education
sorry,
towards others. And maybe just for me, all that
Mr.
for me,
Hafid.
if I have mistake, I say sorry. And the last, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thank you for Mr. Hafid about libraries ya in the book apa tadi? Fatimah, Syair Fatimah.
Yes, Syair Fatimah.
Syair Fatimah. Okay. Okay, and then next presentation Abdul Rahmat Ramadan. Ready, Mister? Abdul Rahman Ramadan, Mr. Abdul. Halo, Mr. Abdul. Dengar nggak suara saya? Oke, lihat ya. Oke, Mr. Rifai. Oh, Miss Rifai. Ready, Miss Rifai?
Iya,
Oke, Miss
baik
Rifai.
Ibu. Iya,
Okay, about the article, arti artificial intelligence
artificial
and
intelligence.
opportunity and collective success in Islamic education. Ready,
Oke.
Miss Rifai?
Oke, pakai bahasa Indonesia, Bun.
Ya, monggo.
Oke. Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yang kami hormati moderator, host, serta teman-teman yang hadir di Zoom kali ini. Alhamdulillah atas kesempatannya untuk mempresentasikan tulisan kami. Langsung saja. Judulnya adalah Artificial Intelligence, sebuah peluang dan tantangan mencapai keberhasilan pendidikan Islam. Baik, introduction yang melatar belakangi Tulisan ini adalah di mana bahwa Islam mengajarkan umatnya untuk menuntut ilmu yang setinggi-tingginya, tak terbatas oleh ruang dan waktu. Ini mengingat wahyu yang turun kepada Nabi Muhammad adalah Iqra. Itu menunjukkan bahwa anjuran dan kewajiban belajar untuk setiap muslim selama manusia itu masih hidup, maka kewajiban belajar menuntut ilmu yang setinggi-tingginya merupakan kewajiban bagi dia. Yang kedua, mengingat bahwa manusia di bumi ini adalah sebagai khalifah, bahwa manusia sebagai khalifah di bumi di mana dia mempunyai tanggung jawab untuk mengembangkan kemampuannya setinggi-tingginya. Dan mengingat setiap sebagai orang Islam dia juga punya tanggung jawab bagaimana mewujudkan Islam rahmatan lil alamin menuju baldatun thayyibatun wa rabbun ghafur. Yang ketiga, perkembangan teknologi yang pada saat ini tidak bisa dielakkan lagi, maka menuntut kita, menuntut umat Islam untuk terus mengembangkan pengetahuannya, menjawab tantangan-tantangan yang ada pada saat ini, termasuk artificial intelligence ini merupakan tantangan bagi kita semua, khususnya bagi kita yang mempunyai tanggung jawab untuk membangun manusia Indonesia khususnya. Kemudian artificial intelligence ini merupakan cabang ilmu pengetahuan yang menekankan pengembangan intelijen mesin, pola berpikir, dan bekerja seperti manusia. Misalnya pengenalan suara, pengenalan pemecahan masalah pembelajaran dan perencanaan. Ini juga merupakan bagian cabang sistem literasi digital yang memiliki peranan besar dalam proses pengembangan intelijen. Artificial intelligence merupakan ilmu dan teknik yang bertumpu pada metode komputer untuk memprogram suatu aplikasi dan mesin cerdas dengan meniru kepintaran manusia. AI dapat melihat, mendengar, berbicara, berpikir, berhitung, dan seterusnya, mencari segala kemampuan manusia. Akan tetapi, AI tidak mempunyai emosi dan berintuisi, berkreasi, dan lain-lain yang begitu subjektif. Artinya AI walaupun memiliki kecerdasan lebih dari kecerdasan manusia, lebih tinggi dari kecerdasan manusia, akan tetapi AI ini masih dikendalikan oleh manusia karena AI ini merupakan ciptaan manusia juga yang kerjanya lebih cepat dari kerjanya manusia. Tujuan AI diharapkan akan digunakan untuk membuat perangkat lunak atau robot yang dapat membantu aktivitas rutin manusia. AI diharapkan dapat membuat mesin lebih pintar dari sebelumnya. Berikutnya, AI juga diharapkan dapat benar-benar membantu dalam memecahkan masalah yang kompleks, seperti melalui pengembangan kalkulator, pintar berhitung cepat, dan sebagainya. Berikutnya, artificial intelligence sebagai peluang bagi pendidikan. Yang pertama, AI sebagai media dalam pembelajaran. Yang kedua, membantu penguatan infrastruktur dan teknologi. Yang ketiga, memudahkan penyusunan kurikulum literasi digital yang tepat. Yang keempat, memudahkan pengembangan metode pembelajaran yang kreatif dan inovatif. Jadi AI sangat membantu proses pembelajaran atau proses pendidikan di mana AI ini lebih menghemat waktu dan tenaga. Kalau dulu sebelum adanya AI ini pekerjaan membutuhkan tenaga manusia yang banyak sekali dan butuh waktu yang sangat banyak. Akan tetapi pada saat ini berkat adanya AI, waktu bisa dihemat, kemudian tenaga juga bisa dihemat sehingga pekerjaan dapat berjalan secara efektif dan efisien. Yang berikutnya, AI juga membantu meningkatkan kompetensi guru dan tenaga pendidikan. Ini juga untuk peningkatan kompetensi guru dapat dilakukan secara efektif dan efisien, baik efektif waktu, efektif tenaga, maupun efektif dalam hal biaya. Kemudian yang berikutnya memudahkan partisipasi orang tua dalam mengawal pendidikan siswa. Kalau dulu orang tua siswa untuk mengetahui perkembangan siswanya harus datang ke sekolah atau ke madrasah dan menanyakan kepada guru atau kepada kepala sekolahnya tentang perkembangan anaknya. Akan tetapi saat ini orang tua dapat mengawal pendidikan siswanya cukup dari rumah melalui media teknologi. Yang berikutnya, fungsi artificial intelligence yang pertama sebagai mentor virtual. Ini lebih berguna daripada instruksi kelas biasa. Ketersediaan mentor virtual membuat kontaks menjadi lebih efisien dari sudut pandang manajerial dan keuangan. Yang kedua, AI berfungsi sebagai voice assistant, yaitu mempercepat pencarian siswa terhadap materi-materi tambahan di dalam kelas, juga memungkinkan siswa mendapatkan informasi dan transparan serta akurat. Yang ketiga, AI berfungsi sebagai smart content, menyediakan bahan bacaan terbaru dari buku-buku yang baru dirilis, serta mencari informasi sesuai dengan kebutuhan pembelajaran yang tercakup di dalam bidang pendidikan. Ini juga sangat efisien bagi para pelajar, baik siswa maupun mahasiswa, mencari literatur lebih mudah. Kalau dulu siswa atau mahasiswa mencari materi-materi harus membeli buku dengan harga yang mahal, akan tetapi saat ini cukup dengan membuka internet, bahan-bahan materi yang dibutuhkan di situ banyak yang sudah tersedia. Jadi tidak terlalu banyak membutuhkan biaya, bahkan juga lebih menghemat waktu. Yang keempat,
permisi Bu Rifa,
okay.
Waktunya tinggal 3 menit lagi.
Okay. Terima kasih. Yang berikutnya, artificial intelligence juga merupakan tantangan di bidang pendidikan. Ya. AI menimbulkan hal-hal yang negatif jika AI itu digunakan tidak pada semestinya. Kemudian kondisi pendidikan saat ini belum siap dengan AI karena SDM yang terbatas. Berikutnya, pendidikan Islam menjawab perkembangan AI melalui artificial intelligence dapat meningkatkan kualitas penyelenggaraan pendidikan jika AI ini digunakan dengan sebaik-baiknya. AI juga bisa membekali peserta didik dengan keilmuan yang mencukupi. Lembaga pendidikan dapat memperbaiki manajemen pendidikannya sesuai dengan perkembangan waktu, baik dari sisi kurikulum maupun SDM yang ada di lembaganya. Pendidikan Islam hendaknya melakukan berbagai inovasi dalam rangka membentuk manusia yang siap menjawab tantangan global dengan membekali ilmu pengetahuan yang mumpuni. Yang kelima, menguatkan peserta didik dengan nilai-nilai keagamaan yang kuat, sehingga ia dapat mengambil manfaat dari AI sesuai dengan porsinya dan dapat menghindari hal-hal yang negatif. Kemudian juga yang terpenting ini adalah bimbingan dan teladan dari guru sangat diperlukan. diperlukan untuk menghindari dampak dari AI terhadap hal-hal yang negatif. Demikian, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Ibu Rita. Oke,
Ya, sama-sama.
for the next presentation, Mr. Abdul Rahman.
Yes, I'm here, but let me present my paper with in bahasa.
Okay. Mr. Abdul Rahman, can you share screen?
Yes, I can. From me? Wait a moment. Yes. Can I start?
Wait. Okay.
Okay. Bismillah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man walah. Terima kasih kepada moderator atas waktu dan kesempatan yang diberikan. Sebelumnya mohon izin untuk mempresentasikan paper yang sebenarnya ditulis dalam bahasa Inggris namun dipresentasikan dalam bahasa Indonesia. Sebenarnya perkenalkan, nama saya Abdurrahman Ramadan, saya mahasiswa semester 5 program studi Hukum Keluarga Islam dari Sekolah Tinggi Dirasat Islamiyah Imam Syafi'i Jember. Adapun paper yang saya angkat adalah judul aslinya adalah The and Its Impact on Challenge and Opportunities. Ini sedikit mengkerucut kepada chatbotnya dan juga dalam pembelajaran topik. Masuk kepada pendahuluan di mana agama Islam itu hukum Islam, bahwa umat Islam memandang ilmu fikih sebagai ekspresi fikih juga telah mewakili hukum dan bentuk cita-cita sebagai respon atau refleksi kenyataan secara realistis. Kemudian kita juga tahu bahwa dalam beberapa tahun terakhir kemajuan intelijen atau teknologi chatbot, yaitu salah satu program AI yang bekerja layaknya sebuah percakapan dengan manusia, yang mana dia dapat berinteraksi dengan manusia dan bentuk percakapan seolah menjadi bagian yang tak terpisahkan dalam pembelajaran modern, khususnya dalam pembelajaran ilmu fikih pada saat ini, berdasarkan hasil observasi dari peneliti. Kemudian, fikih adalah salah satu cabang ilmu pengetahuan Islam yang membahas tentang peraturan-peraturan yang berkaitan dengan ajaran Islam, sehingga dengan munculnya chatbot AI ini, proses belajar ilmu fikih dalam tanda kutip bisa menjadi lebih interaktif, mudah diakses, dan juga dapat disesuaikan dengan individu. Yang menjadi masalah adalah kita tahu bahwa chatbot AI ini merupakan suatu teknologi yang memungkinkan seseorang untuk berinteraksi layaknya percakapan dengan orang lain, sehingga banyak dari mahasiswa menanyakan masalah-masalah fikih dalam kepada aplikasi chatbot tersebut, baik ChatGPT, Bing AI, Google Bard, dan segala macam. Padahal kita tahu bahwa dalam ajaran Islam, ketika kita tidak mengetahui sesuatu, maka kita diperintahkan untuk bertanya kepada ahlinya. Allah berfirman dalam surat An-Nahl ayat 43, Fas'alu ahla dzikri in kuntum la ta'lamun. Maka bertanyalah kepada ahlinya jika kamu tidak mengetahui sesuatu. Masuk kepada material and method, penelitian ini adalah penelitian kualitatif yang mana menggunakan dua sumber data primer dan sekunder. Adapun sumber data primer didapatkan dari observasi yang dilakukan terhadap mahasiswa dan juga dosen dari 3 universitas, yaitu dari 3 perguruan tinggi, yaitu Sekolah Tinggi Dirasat Islamiyah Imam Syafi'i Jember, kemudian ada Safwa University atau Universitas Safwa Mesir, dan juga International Quran University Gambia. Kemudian untuk data sekunder, peneliti menggunakan teknik pengumpulan data literatur review yang berkaitan dengan artificial intelligence dan pembelajaran ilmu fikih. Ada 4 poin pembahasan dalam paper ini. Yang pertama adalah penggunaan EA chatbot dalam pembelajaran ilmu fikih, kemudian pengaruh chatbot EA dalam pembelajaran ilmu fikih, kemudian ada tantangan etis dalam penggunaan chatbot EA dalam pembelajaran ilmu fikih, dan yang terakhir adalah peluang dalam implementasi chatbot EA dalam pembelajaran ilmu fikih. Masuk kepada pembahasan pertama, yaitu penggunaan chatbot EA dalam pembelajaran ilmu fikih, bahwa dari penelitian ini menunjukkan bahwa ini mungkin saya gambarkan secara global untuk pembahasan ini, bahwa chatbot EA telah menjadi teknologi yang diterima dari kalangan dosen dan juga khususnya lagi mahasiswa. Dan juga chatbot EA telah digunakan dalam berbagai keperluan, termasuk penelitian dan pencarian informasi terkait permasalahan ilmu fikih. Meskipun terkadang terdapat kesalahan dalam jawaban yang muncul ketika kita menanyakan perkara fikih kepada chatbot, pengguna chatbot merasa bahwa teknologi ini akan memberikan dampak positif terhadap pembelajaran ilmu fikih di era modern. Kalau boleh memaparkan sedikit data yang didapat dari hasil observasi, bahwa dari hasil observasi menunjukkan dari kalangan mahasiswa dari 3 kampus tersebut, bahwa 59% telah melek atau pernah menggunakan aplikasi chatbot EA sendiri. Namun hal itu sedikit berbeda pada kalangan dosen, bahwa kita dapati bahwa dari dosen-dosen yang masuk dalam observasi hanya sekitar 14% yang pernah menggunakan chatbot EA. Dan tujuan penggunaan chatbot ini pun bermacam-macam. Di antaranya adalah untuk menerjemah sekitar 32%, untuk penelitian 50%, pengerjaan tugas 21%, dan 18% untuk manajemen tugas. Nah, yang menjadi perhatian adalah bahwa dari sekian banyak mahasiswa dan dosen yang telah yang pernah menggunakan aplikasi chatbot ini, menyatakan bahwa 50% di antaranya bahwa mereka itu pernah bertanya seputar masalah fikih kepada aplikasi chatbot. Dan dari mereka yang pernah bertanya tersebut, bahwa didapati bahwa hanya ada sekitar 26% yang pernah menemukan adanya kekeliruan, baik itu kekeliruan ayat maupun kekeliruan hadis yang diberikan oleh chatbot ketika kita menanyakan permasalahan fikih tersebut. Karena kita tahu bahwa sistem kerja chatbot adalah mereka akan mengkonversi apa yang kita tanyakan berdasarkan data-data yang mereka miliki. Kemudian data tersebut bisa jadi benar atau bisa jadi salah, khususnya dalam permasalahan fikih. Kemudian pembahasan yang kedua adalah pengaruh penggunaan chatbot dalam pembelajaran ilmu fikih. Didapati bahwa penggunaan chatbot IE dalam pembelajaran ilmu fikih,
Mr. Abdurrahman,
ya,
your time is 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Nah, yes.
Yes.
Bahwa penggunaan menimbulkan banyak pengaruh seperti meningkatkan aksesibilitas, keterlibatan, dan pemahaman pembelajar, serta menimbulkan umpan balik yang instan. Ini dapat membantu mengatasi keterbatasan akses terhadap guru dan sumber daya manusia. Kita tahu bahwa ketika kita belajar dengan guru, mungkin meskipun ada teknologi seperti chat dan segala macam, kita tidak bisa secara instan mendapatkan jawaban dari pengajar tersebut. Kemudian tantangan etis yang ditimbulkan dari pembelajaran ilmu fikih menggunakan chatbot adalah yaitu adalah berkaitan dengan akurasi dan keandalan informasi yang diberikan chatbot EA tersebut. Bagaimana yang didapati tadi bahwa sekitar 26% menyatakan bahwa mereka mendapati ketidakakuratan dalam jawaban yang diberikan oleh chatbot EA ketika melakukan atau memberikan pertanyaan berkaitan dengan permasalahan fikih kepada chatbot tersebut. Maka ini walaupun tidak sampai setengah, angka 26% dari ketidakakuratan tersebut bisa menjadi masalah karena yang ditanyakan adalah perkara agama atau perkara haram dan halal. Dan terakhir adalah peluang dalam implementasi chatbot terhadap pembelajaran ilmu fikih. Peluangnya adalah memperluas akses pembelajaran fikih, dapat meningkatkan keterlibatan mahasiswa dan memberikan pengalaman belajar yang lebih personal. Ya, kita tahu tadi bahwa ketika ada chatbot, seorang mahasiswa dapat secara instan dapat bertanya masalah fikih layaknya bercakap-cakap dengan chat, bahkan lebih cepat. Kalau kita chat dengan orang lain mungkin menunggu waktu 1, 2, 3 menit. Kalau menggunakan chatbot itu bisa lebih cepat. Kemudian kesimpulan dari paper ini adalah chatbot has become telah menjadi teknologi yang diterima di kalangan dosen dan juga mahasiswa, dan juga penggunaan AI chatbot dapat dalam pembelajaran fikih memiliki banyak efek seperti meningkatkan aksesibilitas, keterlibatan, dan pemahaman peserta didik, serta memberikan umpan balik secara instan. Dan dalam implementasinya, dalam pembelajaran ilmu fikih, chatbot IE dapat memberikan peluang untuk memperluas akses pembelajaran ilmu fikih. Namun, penggunaan IE chatbot untuk pembelajaran fikih menghadapi sejumlah tantangan etika yang perlu diperhatikan. Mungkin itu dari saya. Mohon maaf apabila mungkin terlalu panjang. Saya kembalikan kepada moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thank you, Mr. Abdurrahman, about LChat food, ya. Okay, next for presentation, Mr. Wasik Yasar. Okay, Mr. Wasik Yasar, about the article Integrated Technology into the Social Work Education, Preparing Students for Digital Development. Okay, let's go, Mr. Wasik. Mr. Wasit and Miss Hani Puspita.
Okay, okay. Could you hear me?
Halo, Mr. Wasit. Oke, I'm sorry terlempar ini. Oke, Miss Hani. Oke, Miss Hani. Or Mr. Wasit.
Okay, Miss. Pardon, sorry for mistake our technique. Okay, thank you. The moderator has been giving me a chance to explain our research. For the first, I wanna introduce ourselves first. My name is Suhat Sikiasar. I'm a practice. I'm the professional practitioner, and beside me, this is my wife. This is Hani Puspita Dewi. She is Hani Puspita Dewi. Actually, I'm not the academic staff, but my wife is the academic staff. Okay. Maybe we can call her like docent. Okay. We will explain our research. We will share our research by the title Integrating Technology to the Social Work Education, Preparing Students for Digital Development. Why we wrote this research? Because actually we both the fresh graduate for social work education. So we hope that the social education study program has the development in the modern era. For the introduction, okay, next I will share the introduction for the first. Sorry, Miss. Could you hear me? Okay, thank you. For the one point that we could share, our daily activities such as social interaction and then communication and then the education, more even entertainment, have been greatly impacted by technology or information and technology. And then the social work today to also requires the use of information and communication technology, which can support face-to-face professional practices. And then we can see more over there in business, advertising, and social media. Artificial intelligence, or we call the AI, is being used more and more in that field. And today, student of social work, I mean the social work study program, must receive training in order to use the technology well and adhere to industry standards. Although the only two universities currently offer technology courses, more are adding them to their curriculum. No. And then the digitalization in social work present opportunities and challenge for all parties and call for coordinated efforts. And then today and the modern era, we have to respond this in response to various change occurring in social work practices and the various social problem. Some universities, some colleges has provide the social work that provide social work or social work study program. I mean social welfare or social work study program have included technology in their curriculum. Yes, the curriculum. Okay, this is the point that the technology that related course are only available in the social welfare study program and Wijaya Kusuma University that has located in Surabaya, and then the second the study program of social work in Politeknik Kesejahteraan Sosial Bandung, Indonesia. There are two examples above, so that social work education in Indonesia is starting to realize the importance of digital literacy for the purpose of social work education and practices. However, in reality of the various university, there are only two that apply technology courses. And then the next.
Okay. The research method is by secondary data, I mean from literature review and from literature relevant for about digital social work. And in this, okay, next, yeah.
No. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I will make the research method. I will explain again in this. This research is this kind of research secondary data from literature relevant to digital literacy in social work education is gathered from the library, and then development of challenge and opportunities in conducting a study or review. We studied through literature reviews on a variety of social change literature in the field of social work practice and the other literature. And then by integrating technology into social work and creating innovative practices, transformative social transformation will be achieved. Focusing in particular on the issue we experience in the digital age, and given the urgent requirement for useful guidance that promotes the expansion of digital literacy in social work. And then I next will share the next, the content, especially the content, the core of content. The social work and technology. That title, nice. The social work educational institution must adapt to the changing landscape of AI technology in their practices, such as in our study program, there are some steps that is engagement, assessment, planning, intervention, and evaluation. But we just explain, we just share that we have made in our research about engagement, assessment, and planning. So the technology, when we do engagement with the client, This is require the use of digital tools such as email, which can reach remote and underserved the communities. And then also, however, it pose risks such as confidentiality and privacy concern. And then the second is assessment is often conducted through video calls in order to the client when saying something to us can avoid the anxiety. I mean the doubt to say something to us and avoid distress. And then the other step, there is planning and then intervention and evaluation. All of the steps need the technology, moreover AI, for the uh, developing the job, developing the professional job. And then the other to say contoh. And then the other activities, there are the fundraising
I'm
activities.
sorry, Mister. Your time is 3 minutes.
Okay, sorry. Okay, next.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm nervous maybe. Okay, the challenges is safety factor must be addressed, and it is essential to include crisis management and risk management. Social work must be focused about boundaries with client for contact outside working hours and uh, online search and the client first and the client friend request, so social media of social worker. And next, okay, the recommendation is training and education can develop competence required for group uh, intervention, and social work must maintain documentation to ensure continuity and quality of service. The social work curriculum in Indonesia needs to provide information related to technology development, and this is important to support social work intervention activities in the future. Okay, uh, thank you, Miss. And any question, anyone?
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Miss Nelly and Mr. Wasik. Okay. Okay. Minggu nggak ada nih. Minggu udah nggak ada ya. Okay, thank you for parallel group 4. Now we will move to question and answer session. If you want to ask question, please raise hand or say your name. Kita ke sesi tanya jawab Bapak Ibu. Mungkin jika ada yang ingin ditanyakan ke para peneliti, boleh saling sharing. Kami beri waktu. Any question? Oke. Oke, tidak ada yang tanya ini Bapak Ibu semua.
The question from the participant or from the committee? Yes.
Yes, Intercafe.
The question from the participants to other participants or from committee? Oh, for
participant. Mbak Hafid mau tanya ke Bu Rifai boleh nih. Atau ke Abu Abidah, nggak apa-apa. Pengen tahu nih tadi kurikulumnya kayak gimana. Oke, ada yang mau ditanyakan, Ibu Abidah?
Maybe I will ask to the first presenter, yes, no, who the name I forget. About Malaysian and Indonesian school at the first turn. I will ask what is the different or what is the maybe here. We know that the Indonesian school has many like special, is especially or maybe what I will say is what do you say?
Tadi lupa katanya. Mr. Hafid, for presenter.
Yes, maybe special culture. So what we can take and what we can to use from the Malaysian culture or Malaysian school, we
Mr.
can
Aswan.
do it. Yeah, Mr. Aswan. Yes, true. We can
Halo,
learn
Mr.
from
Afwan.
school of
Wait,
Malaysian.
Mr. Hafid.
We can do it Indonesian. Yes.
Mr. Aswan. Halo. Sepertinya tidak ada di tempat ini. Oke. Oke, Mr. Aswan.
Yeah.
My internet is really bad. I don't heard the question. Can repeat again?
Oke.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Diulangi, Mr. Hafid.
Like this, let's see what you have delivered to us about the curriculum at Malaysia and Indonesian or the Indonesian school at Malaysia. So after there is always the culture from Malaysia and Indonesian, maybe variation or maybe combination about two cultures to be one culture. So what can what we can take from the Malaysian culture or maybe curriculum of Malaysian that we can to practice it in Indonesian school.
Okay. Okay, I get the questions. From my study, actually in my study, in my focus, my study is about Indonesian school in Malaysia. So that all curriculums used in Indonesian school in Malaysia is also based what curriculum used commonly in Indonesia. So even though school in Malaysia, the positions in Malaysia use curriculum Merdeka. Recently use curriculum Merdeka, but maybe this is the questions out of my research, but I can answer what maybe culture, Malaysia culture or Malaysian curriculum, Malaysian aspect we can learn in Indonesia. So I think the good things in Malaysia curriculums or Malaysian aspect we can learn is about critical thinking. So this school in Malaysia use critical thinking start from the class SD. So I think we should try to implement this aspect critical thinking to our students because there is many skill can improve in the students, such as in the daily life the students can more aware about hoax, aware about many things from the critical thinking. My answer is that critical thinking.
Okay, nice, Mister, and thank you very much from your explanation about critical thinking. Okay, thank you.
Oke, enough, Mr. Hafid. Tetap ya, kita menggunakan kurikulum Merdeka.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any question for presentation? Kita buka berapa pertanyaan? Cukup ya. Oke, ada pertanyaan lagi Bapak Ibu? Tidak ada. Sesi terakhir foto. Oke. Oke, tidak ada pertanyaan lagi Bapak Ibu ya. Nanti di sesi terakhir kita akan foto bersama. Mungkin Bapak Ibu bisa menyalakan kamera, open kamera. Kamu tuh yang mati ya. Oke. Mr. Abdurrahman. Oh, izin dicek. Oke, Bapak Ibu, kita foto bersama dulu. Kita hitung. Kamu nggak open kamera? Oke ya, akan dihitung sampai 3 ya. 1, 2, 3. Oke, sudah ya. Terima kasih. Oke. Ini jadi ada 2 yang tidak ada. Mr. Daniel and Miss Puji Pratama. Finally ya, Bapak Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, now we have reached the end this presentation. I would like to say thank you to all the presenter for the great presentation on the audience, for the active participant. Thank you. For all participants, mari kita akhiri dengan baca hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim.
Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin.
Thank you for your attention and have a good day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Sayonara.